that means you're dangerous. Because a man with no friends isn't weak, he's waking up. He's entering the phase most fear, the phase of pure focus. And that's when everything changes. A man with no friends is focused. He doesn't have time to gossip. He doesn't sit around complaining about life with other losers on the same level. While others are wasting hours debating nonsense, he's plotting his next move in silence. No noise, no distractions, just pure clarity. The world loves to tell you that isolation is a weakness. But here's the truth. Isolation is a weapon. Most people fear being alone because when you're alone, you're forced to confront who you really are. There's no one to impress, no one to validate your excuses, no one to clap for your mediocrity. Just you, your thoughts, your demons, and your hunger. Distraction is the new disease, and friendship has become one of its deadliest carriers. Most friendships are built on comfort, not growth. You bond over laziness, over shared pain, over excuses. You keep each other broke, slow, weak, and call it loyalty. But a man with no friends, he doesn't wait for a text. He doesn't need a ride. He doesn't ask for approval. He moves on instinct. He wakes up with purpose. And when he falls, he doesn't whine in a group chat. He tightens his jaw and gets back up. Because focus builds fire. It sharpens the edge. And eventually the world feels that heat. Real growth starts when you're alone. You strip away the noise, and all that's left is the truth. Are you disciplined when no one's watching? Do you still grind when there's no applause? That's when you find out what you're made of. When you're surrounded by people, you're performing, you're acting, you're trying to fit their narrative. But when you're alone, the mask falls off. There's no one to fake it for. There's no fake laughter, no small talk, no pretending to care. Just raw, uncomfortable honesty. That's where greatness starts. Not in the crowd, but in the shadows. The gym hits harder when no one is filming. The work is purer when no one's praising you. When the doors are closed and the world forgets you, that's the perfect time to become someone they'll never ignore again. Because when you embrace the silence, the pain, the boredom, you become immune. You don't chase stimulation. You don't need approval. You're no longer a puppet. You start building. And every second you stay locked in, the gap widens. The people who left, the ones who ghosted you, they'll come back when they see the glow up. But by then, you won't need them. Because a man who grows alone becomes unstoppable. You don't need friends to become great. You need vision. You need grit. You need silence. And if you've got those, then being alone isn't your weakness. It's your superpower. They fear silence because silence exposes them. The moment the noise fades, the fake confidence disappears. When there's no one to impress, no one clapping, no one liking your post, that's when your real identity starts speaking. And for most, that voice is weak, filled with self-doubt, filled with regret, filled with lies they've been telling themselves for years. But a man who can sit with silence, he's different. He's not running from his thoughts. He's confronting them. He's listening, decoding, refining. That silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Most just don't have the courage to hear them. In a world addicted to noise, silence is rebellion. People drown themselves in music, mindless videos, fake conversations, anything to avoid being alone with their mind. Because deep down, they know the truth isn't flattering. The truth is brutal. It shows them how lazy they've been, how much time they've wasted, how much stronger they should be. But if you can handle silence, if you can sit alone without needing validation, you become dangerous. You become centered. You become someone who acts with intention, not reaction. You're not thrown off by opinions. You're not shaken by loneliness. You've built something deeper than hype. You've built clarity. And clarity in today's chaotic world is power. Friends are distractions, not allies. And the truth will offend the weak. They'll tell you friendship is sacred, that brotherhood is everything. But look closer. Are those so-called friends building you or draining you? Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Most people don't want to see you rise, not because they hate you, but because your growth threatens their comfort. The moment you change, they feel small. And instead of leveling up with you, they try to pull you down. They'll make jokes about your goals. They'll call you too serious, too obsessed, too different. But here's the secret. Obsession creates separation, and separation is where elevation happens. The truth is, most friendships are built on weakness. You bond over shared failure, shared pain, shared distractions. You sit around talking about people, not ideas. You spend your energy discussing problems, not building solutions. And every minute wasted with the wrong people is a minute stolen from your future. The man who cuts off noise, who walks alone without apology, isn't cold. He's focused. He's tired of explaining his vision to people with no vision. He's done slowing down for those who refuse to speed up. He's not looking for a squad. He's building an empire. Friendship should be based on alignment, not attachment. And if they're not aligned with your mission, they're a threat to your mission. The ones who say you've changed, they're right. You were supposed to change. Growth demands change. It demands sacrifice. And often the first sacrifice is your social circle. You lose the party invites. You lose the calls. You lose the people who only showed up when it was easy. But what you gain is far more powerful. Time, focus, energy, hunger. And that hunger, that becomes your advantage. They don't care how hard you try. They don't care how many nights you've stayed awake, how many times you've failed, or how many times you've thought about quitting. The world doesn't reward effort. It only respects results. You either deliver or you disappear. That's the brutal truth. No one wants to admit. You can scream your struggles into the void. You can beg people to understand. You can cry about how unfair it is. But none of that will matter until you produce something real. The world doesn't hand out sympathy trophies. It hands out respect to those who conquer, those who win, those who make things happen regardless of the pain. When a man understands that his worth is measured by what he does, not by what he intends, everything changes. No more talking, just action. No more excuses, just discipline. No more waiting, just building. Because the world doesn't slow down for your emotions. It doesn't stop moving because you're tired or sad or uncertain. It keeps going. And if you're not producing results, you're getting left behind. That's why men who stay focused, silent, and relentless always rise. They don't explain themselves. They don't seek permission. They don't post every move. They let the results speak. And here's where it gets real. The moment you start winning, people change. Suddenly the ones who ignored you start watching. The ones who doubted you start copying. The ones who left you alone now want to come back. But don't let the praise fool you. Loyalty is rare. It's easy to support you when you're small. Easy to cheer you on when you're not a threat. But once you level up, once you become undeniable, the same people who called you crazy will pretend they were there the whole time. Success reveals who's real. It doesn't build loyalty. It tests it. When you're broke, no one picks up. When you're quiet, no one listens. But hit a milestone, buy a car, drop a success post, and suddenly they remember your name. That's not loyalty. That's convenience. That's clout chasing in disguise. And if you don't recognize it early, you'll invite snakes into your garden. That's why real men don't chase people. They observe. They move in silence. And they never forget who clapped when they lost, and who clapped when they finally won. Loyalty isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in pressure. The ones who stand beside you when you're losing, who check on you when you're silent, who believe in you when no one else does, those are rare. Most only show up when it benefits them. And if you think having a crowd means having a crew, you're already lost. Because when the pressure hits, the crowd vanishes. When the world turns on you, the crowd disappears. That's why you need to build alone. That's why you need to know how to walk alone. Because if your strength depends on their support, you're already weak. Winning isn't just about money or status. It's about freedom. It's about no longer needing anyone to validate you. It's about walking into any room, knowing you built yourself without applause, without backup, without safety nets. And when you understand that results matter more than opinions, you stop chasing validation and start chasing greatness. You stop wasting time explaining your grind to people who've never built anything. You stop begging people to believe in you and start becoming someone they can't ignore. Because in the end, the world doesn't remember the ones who tried. It remembers the ones who finished. He doesn't talk. He doesn't explain. He doesn't post about how focused he is. He just disappears. And when he returns, he's unrecognizable. That's the man you should fear. The one who builds himself in silence and shocks the world with results. While others are busy seeking attention, he's seeking power. While they're updating their stories, he's rewriting his. He doesn't need to convince anyone he's working. His work convinces them for him. The world only notices when it's done, not while it's being built. That's why a real man builds in private. Because real transformation isn't loud. It's disciplined, it's ruthless, and it's unseen. You want to impress the world? Then stop showing them what you're doing, and start showing them what you've done. When a man locks in and goes ghost, something inside him shifts. His vision gets sharper. His emotions get colder. His purpose gets louder. Distractions stop making sense. Weak conversations become unbearable. He doesn't crave comfort. He craves the burn, the challenge, the isolation. Because deep down, he knows silence multiplies value. The less people know, the less they can interfere. And when you no longer seek applause, you start building something worth clapping for. The lone wolf doesn't beg to belong. He understands that packs can be poison. Most people are too distracted, too emotional, too soft. They can't see 5 years ahead. They can barely see tomorrow. And if you try to grow while surrounded by that kind of mindset, it will suffocate your potential. That's why walking alone isn't loneliness. It's liberation. You move how you want. You train when you want. You think on your own terms. You grow without friction. No one questioning your grind. No one watering down your intensity. No one pulling you back to average. He doesn't whine. He doesn't complain. He doesn't blame the world. He just accepts it. No friends? Good. No help? Even better. That's how warriors are built. Because when no one checks on you, you check on yourself. When no one supports you, you carry the weight alone. That's when it clicks. Weakness is a choice. Every excuse you make is a chain you wrap around your own progress. And the man who stops complaining becomes lethal. Because now he's not wasting time crying over things he can't control. He's focused. He's building. He's sharpening his edge in silence. Most people don't grow because they're addicted to comfort. They want to be heard, understood, coddled. They want sympathy for their struggle. But here's the truth. Nobody cares. Your story doesn't matter if your results are zero. You're not owed anything for suffering. Life rewards action. Power respects pain, only when it's converted into performance. If your default reaction is to complain, you're not built for the top. You're built to be ruled. The strong don't vent. They adjust. They don't ask for comfort. They create pressure and learn to breathe in it. That's how dominance is earned. No friends, no noise, no weakness. That's the mindset. You don't need people to remind you of your greatness. You need solitude to find it. Every minute you spend chasing people is a minute stolen from your legacy. You think you're alone? Good. That means you're free. No fake support. No hidden envy. No leeches pretending to care, while secretly hoping you fail. Just silence. Just work. Just you versus the clock. And when it's just you, everything becomes clear. Your thoughts get louder. Your discipline gets tested. Your purpose sharpens. And if you can survive that level of aloneness, you become someone no one can shake. Aloneness is misunderstood. They see it as a flaw, but it's actually the foundation. That's where the real warriors are born. The men who walk without a crowd, who build without a cheer, who win without a witness. They're not just successful, they're unbreakable. because they didn't rely on validation. They didn't need backup. They didn't fall apart when it got quiet. That kind of strength is rare. That kind of strength is dangerous. And that's the kind of strength you earn only when you stop being afraid to walk alone. If no one believes in you, good. Become undeniable. That's your fuel. Let doubt feed your fire. Let silence sharpen your focus. Prove them wrong, not by arguing, not by begging, but by becoming something so powerful they can't ignore you. Let your life become the proof. Every second someone doubts you is a second you win by refusing to quit. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe them a reason to remember your name. And that only comes when you stop needing belief from others and start believing in your own fire. You keep talking about what you want, the life you imagine, the money, the power, the respect. But here's the brutal truth. No one's going to give it to you. No one's coming to remind you. No one's going to drag you out of bed, put a plan in your hands and say, let's make your dream happen. That man you want to become. You either build him with obsession, or you die as a version of yourself that never lived up to his potential. Comfort is the enemy. It keeps you average. It whispers, rest today, you'll try tomorrow. And you listen again and again, until months pass, years pass, and you're still the same. The people who win don't listen to comfort. They listen to obsession. They wake up with it, sleep with it, breathe with it. And that obsession builds separation. It's what makes you untouchable. You think they'll clap for your discipline. You think they'll understand your grind. No, they'll call you arrogant, too serious. They'll laugh at your intensity. But when you start winning, they'll ask how you did it. By then it's too late, because obsession already created the gap. Obsession makes you dangerous. It makes you hard to relate to, hard to stop, hard to compete with. You're no longer interested in being liked. You're interested in being legendary. You don't need 10 people telling you you're on the right track. You need silence, discomfort, and that fire inside you that says, I'm not done. You know why most people stay average? Because they hate the mirror. They can't stand to face who they've become. So they blame the world, blame luck, blame timing, blame people. But real power begins the moment you admit it's on you, that your laziness has cost you, that your fear has limited you, that your excuses have buried your own progress. You want a better life? Then look at yourself with no filter, no lies, no soft words, just raw truth, until it hurts, until it burns, until it pushes you into action. Growth doesn't happen with comfort. It begins with confrontation.